Dear Anne, this is me, Lei. My grandfather Buddy was your favorite cousin, which makes you my distant cousin. You've always been a part of my life, and I feel the responsibility to keep your story alive and make a difference today. Your carefree life in Amsterdam changed during the German occupation. Eventually, your parents felt their only option was to go hiding in a secret annex where you spent more than 2 years and had to become invisible. It seems like years since Sunday morning. So much has happened. It's as if the whole world had suddenly turned upside down. But as you can see, Kitty, I'm still alive. And that's the main thing, Father says. Dear Anne, these were the first words you wrote in your diary after going into hiding. You had no idea you'd be here for 761 days. Over 2 years stuck inside, living in fear. What does that do to a child? By 1942, Nazi Germany controlled most of Europe. There were raids in your city, Jewish men were arrested in the streets. You were scared. And then on July 5th, a day like any other, a police officer came to the door. Your sister Margot received a call-up to report for transport to Germany to work in a so-called labor camp. You wrote, I was stunned. A call-up. Everyone knows what that means. Visions of concentration camps and lonely cells raced through my head. Your parents had secretly been preparing a hiding place. Now was the time. You packed your handkerchiefs, school books, curlers, and some old letters. And of course, your diary. You wrote, memories mean more to me than dresses. The next morning you left. Forever. You walked with your parents through the city for about an hour. In the rain, afraid of being seen, of being caught. You didn't know where you were going. And then you arrived at your secret hiding place in the center of the city. Prinsengracht 263. The hiding place was in the annex of your father's company building. Otto had already asked a few of his closest non-Jewish employees to take care of you and your family. Though it put their lives at risk, they all agreed. Helping Jews was forbidden. Nobody could know you were living there. It was an act of desperation, but one that was very well prepared. In the first week of hiding, it was just the 4 of you. A week later, the Van Peltz family arrived, and 4 months later, Fritz Pfeffer also came to live in the annex. You had to share your room with him.
It's heel raar. Hallo.
This is Luna. She played you in an online series.
Hey, Moortje.
In the show, you got a camera as a birthday present instead of your diary.
It's crazy to realize that there was so much life behind this. Should we go inside?
Yeah. Luna spent some time in the annex preparing for the series to see what it must have been like for you living here for over 2 years.
So this was the room of Otto, Edith, and Margot.
The company was fully operational while you were hiding here, so you had to be really quiet.
That's why they took off their shoes, right?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And at one point you realize, you know, where to step and where not to step because the wood is making the sound.
That would just freak me out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was this?
Yeah, this is really...
13 centimeters. That's how much you grew during your time in the annex. From child to teenager. The 8 of you were trying to be invisible. You weren't allowed to exist. Your helpers and the radio were your only contact with the outside world.
Aan iedereen die ondergedoken zit, doen wij ook het verzoek om te documenteren hoe u deze oorlogsjaren ervaart.
You know what I find really strange is that the bells, they're still the same.
Yeah. This is what they would.
Yeah, that's what they would.
Father, Mother, and Margot still can't get used to the chiming of the Westertoren clock, which tells us the time every quarter of an hour. Not me. I liked it from the start. It sounds so reassuring, especially at night.
But I also remember in the diary how Anna describes that it was also funny sometimes because they were making fun and they were making jokes and stuff.
I remember one scene that was, I think, also in diary was Anne and Peter dressing up, like I think she was dressing up as a guy and he was dressing up as a girl and they were just dancing around and having fun. You know, you need to try and make a little bit of light out of the situation, obviously. You know, I think they tried their best. I mean, they're also still kids. They were still kids, very young.
You wrote, I feel wicked sleeping in a warm bed while somewhere out there my dearest friends are dropping from exhaustion or being knocked to the ground. And all because they're Jews. You felt guilty. You carried a burden far beyond your years. You were just a child.
So this was Anne's room?
It feels strange to think of that she was living here with someone else, with this total stranger. You had to share everything your whole life with someone you don't know. Growing up, I was really happy I had my room where I could shut the door once in a while. That wasn't an option here.
No.
She writes in her diary, I don't have friends. She says, like, I have many, many people around me, but I don't have someone who's really close to me.
Yeah.
And it feels so strange to hear the words my grandfather used to describe her as someone outgoing. And so this idea of having a diary as your friend.
Yeah, Kitty maybe was that close friend.
A friend. And I can imagine being in this place and you're not allowed to be loud, you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to be mad, to laugh even. So what do you do with all this emotions? You have to get it out.
Let it, get it out somewhere. Let it out to someone.
Yeah.
Something or somebody. Peter might have been something special for her because he was somebody outside of her family that she could talk to. So they had a little bit, maybe of romance, maybe. But that didn't last very long because eventually she realized that she couldn't really talk to Peter about like her deep feelings and emotions.
It seems like they're this perfect Hollywood couple and they fall in love and they were the perfect match, but actually it's just two young people locked up in a hiding place.
Hoi Peter. En hij negeerde me helemaal.
One thing that amazes me the most about Anna is her ability to hold on to hope. Always. And to always try to find the little and good things that make her happy.
Dear Anne, from the annex you could sometimes look through the window, your only connection to the outside world. At this window you saw a chestnut tree, your symbol of freedom, which gave you hope. You wrote about it, as long as this exists, this sunshine, and this cloudless sky, and as long as I can enjoy it, how can I be sad? It's my favorite quote of yours, Anne. It shows you always had hope, even when things were at their worst.